Hey everybody. Yeah, yesterday we got the ability to choose a material for your mesh, but you couldn't set the color. So now I implemented that, and now you can set the color. Like I thought, like if I change this to a fawn, you still can't see it. It doesn't matter what color it is, and that's because there's no lights. If I change the background to black or to not to black, then we will then you see it. So, anyways, materials is definitely, lights is definitely coming soon, but for now, I got the colors working. I should just show you how I did that. And first of all, I added this to the interface, the red color, the green color, and the blue color. And then in the service, um, basically in our update mesh function, I added the ability to update a mesh and update the color. And basically, I just say if it's basic, if it's a material type of basic, then go ahead and update it. And um, I'm not checking to see if it changed or anything because these are just primitive values in here, and that's just my normal thing. And if there's some kind of performance issue or something, that would probably be the first place I look. But I think it's okay on every update to do that. And right now we don't like update as you're dragging. Um, so if I change this to basic, like one option would be to like update as you're dragging and then do it. And so then you would get like hundreds of requests a second. But we only update on drop, when you once you're done choosing. So um, updating a bunch of times, even if it was heavy, wouldn't be that big of a deal probably. But um, update a bunch of times because it's so light probably wouldn't be a big of a deal. Updating once on drop, even if it was heavy, isn't that big of a deal. But in the future, who knows how things are going to change. So that's just my basic rule of thumb. So in the component, I just added this case statement. Let's see, do our thing. Um, Basically, I just say, hey, if the material is not normal, then go ahead and show the color. And down here, show the color picker. And so all that's pretty straightforward. I don't think there's anything really worth spending a whole lot of time on. But this guy, I think, probably deserves some time to be. So this right here is a mesh dictionary, and let's see, click that button. So the mesh dictionary is just basically this is the TypeScript typings for it. It just says, hey, there's a number and a mesh interface, and the reason we're doing that is actually down in here. So you notice that when I actually check the mesh dictionary for the material type, and that's something that I have to do almost on a regular basis for communication between the template and the ID, and that's just because this or the template and the data, and that's just because we don't necessarily the mesh ID, the mesh itself is what's called. Okay, so that's the mesh dictionary. Let's go down here. Um, okay, so let me take another step back. See, we create the mesh item right here. This mesh item is what, like in JavaScript, would be called, and here too, but a lot more people are familiar with it in JavaScript, a closure. This piece of memory only exists. So the actual object that the class that this is, the object that gets created cannot access this mesh item. And so for this template to access the mesh item, it's designed to access these sort of class level variables. So it's not really an option to you don't, since it's sitting inside the function. Um, let's see, since this is when we created the mesh is sitting inside this function, it's not accessible by the template. And so we have to do something to make it accessible. And the first thing I do, and the first thing I think everyone does is we make this a mesh item and say, and set it up there. But the problem is every time I would add a new mesh, it would overwrite the old mesh item. So we had to create a library, a way to look it up based on the ID, because we do know the ID. Because in the form, when we were rotating through, we knew the ID of the mesh itself. We just don't know, um, we just don't have access to the actual mesh item. So basically, this is our way of exposing the mesh item to the template or to the TypeScript class. Um, I don't know if that makes sense. I think if you really have a deep understanding of this stuff, then that makes total sense to you. But if you're not, if you don't really have a deep understanding, I probably may have even confused you worse than you were before. But anyways, uh, it's just something it's weird. It's a hard thing, and it's very very difficult for anyone who ever coded in like Java or any of the non-hierarchical, non-prototypal inheritance type of languages, any non-scripting languages, because it sort of everything works the backwards of that in those languages. Like the things on the outside, the whatever is the parenting thing has access to anything in the children in those languages, but in these scripting languages, or at least in JavaScript, the children have access to everything that the parents have, but the parents don't have access to everything the children have. So I probably said enough about that. But anyway, so let me go back to this view. So down here we create our dictionary, and then we added the colors, and then we set up our we populate the dictionary, um, and then we call the setup form with the, oh, that's all the same. And now down here, we have a red update, a green update, a blue update. And those um, basically get the ID and the value. And then they basically update the mesh. So we'll go back over to the template real quick and look at the color. So we built this color picker for the scene manager, and then we're reusing it here. And basically we pass in our red color, blue color, and from the mesh itself, the red color, the green color, and all that, we pass that in, and then we respond to red updates, green updates, and blue updates with these functions. And we give it the mesh ID so that it can look up in the dictionary how to update it. I feel like I know that I can't tell you how many untold hours I've spent just pondering and trying to understand the way this memory gets allocated and how the scoping works inside of JavaScript. Um, and I can't even tell you how many YouTube videos I've watched on it and all that to understand it. And I will say that almost every job I ever go to, they'll have bugs that have been around for years that like no one understands why in certain conditions the data is weirdly off. Um, and it is almost every time it's this issue, this scoping issue. And usually I'll create a dictionary and everyone's like, what is this? And then they just sort of roll their eyes and move on. This is very weird and complicated. Once you understand it, it's not that weird and complicated. But I have found that people who worked in traditional compiled languages, back-end languages, or embedded languages, uh, this whole concept just drives them nuts. But it's just the way it is. Anyways, I guess I'm stopping a little early today. Well, not really, considering I started late. Um, started this late, but happy coding. Bye.